Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled council meeting and public hearing for Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize with gratitude that we're holding this meeting on the unceded territory of the Staminas First Nation. And I'd also like to just say, first of all, a thank you to everyone involved with the Festival of Lights and Light Up. It was a wonderful event, enjoyed by many, and the lights do look so beautiful. And a special thank you to our town staff for finding a way to get the big tree lit up after the fact. We won't go into all the technical details of what it took to get it going again, but I know we're all very thankful to see a Christmas tree that not even the Rockefeller Christmas tree can hold a light to when it comes to sheer size, lit up in our community. And I know the parent family is grateful as well. And thank you, of course, to all the volunteers, sponsors, donors, and just everybody who comes out to enjoy a wonderful time at Light Up and throughout the holiday season. So with that, we'll get underway. First item on our agenda is the agenda approval. Ms. Boma, are there any changes to this evening's agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor, there's none.
No changes?
No.
Okay, thank you. Motion to adopt the agenda as presented, moved by Director, too much time in the CVRD, Councillor Jacobson, seconded by Councillor Stevens. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. With that, we'll head to our first item this evening is the public hearing for bylaws number 2161 and 2131. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act to allow the public to make representations to council regarding bylaw numbers 161 or 2161 and 2131. Everyone present will have reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaws. No one will be discouraged from or prevented from making their views known. However, it is important that remarks be restricted to matters contained in the proposed bylaws. Members of council may ask questions following presentations. However, the function of council at a public hearing is to listen rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaws. Once everyone has had an opportunity to speak, those who wish to speak again may do so. Once the public hearing is closed, no further submissions or comments from the public may be accepted by members of council. Any written submissions received prior to the noon deadline today have been added to the council meeting agenda. Any written submissions received between noon today and the close of the public hearing will be read into the public record. Please be advised that the public hearing will be recorded and live streamed, so your name, address, and comments will become part of the public hearing record. When speaking, please begin by clearly stating your name and address. I will now ask Julie Thompson, Senior Planner, to introduce the proposed bylaws. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. Official Community Plan Bylaw 2022 number 2200, Amendment Bylaw 2023 number 2161, and Town of Ladysmith Zoning Bylaw 2014 number 1860, Amendment Bylaw 2022 number 2131 are the subject of this public hearing. Bylaw number 2161 and Bylaw number 2131 will apply to the property at 10940 West Down Road, legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 72, Oyster District, Plan 24076. Bylaw number 2161 will amend Official Community Plan Bylaw 2022 number 2200 by changing the land use designation on the subject property from neighborhood residential to manufactured home park residential. Bylaw number 2131 will amend zoning bylaw 2014 number 1860 by changing the zone on the subject property from rural residential to manufactured home park. The manufactured home park zone will allow up to 4 manufactured homes on the subject property and any permitted accessory uses, including caretaker dwelling, office, or home-based business. The purpose of the proposed bylaw amendments is to facilitate the expansion of the adjacent manufactured home park, the Town and Country Mobile Home Park, onto the subject property. Notice of this public hearing was printed in the Ladysmith Chronicle on December the 14th, 2023, and posted on the town's website and community notice boards. A copy of the notice, the proposed bylaws, and background information were made available at the front counter of the City Hall Development Services offices and were available on the town's website for the notice period. Staff in the Development Services office were available to respond to questions prior to the public hearing. As of noon today, the town has received no written submissions relating to the proposed bylaws.
Great, thank you, Ms. Thompson. We will now open the floor to public submissions. I'm going to ask if the applicant is present if they wish to make the first submission. Please step to the microphone, press the little button with the person on it, and there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thanks. My name is Matt Snurch. I'm a surveyor here on behalf of the owner. I don't really have much to add to this. It's just the purpose of the rezoning is to sort of bring it into alignment with the use of the area. The owner has agreed to register a covenant preventing any development until the sewer connection is dealt with. So I think he has a lot of work to do before anything happens. We also held a public information meeting at the site, and there was roughly 15 attendants. They were all residents of the park, and no one had any objections to it. So,
Great, thank you very much. Are there any public submissions regarding this proposed bylaws? Gotta give it time. Somebody might storm in. For a second time, are there any submissions for bylaws numbers 2161 and 2131? For a third and final time, are there any submissions for bylaw numbers 2161 and 2131? Seeing or hearing none, are there any written submissions to be read into the public record, Ms. Palmer? Thank you for that. Now, the public hearing for bylaw numbers 2161 and 2131 is now closed. No further input or submissions can be provided to council. These bylaws are on tonight's council meeting agenda for further consideration. That takes us to the bylaws. Item 6.1, Official Community Plan Bylaw 2022, number 2200, Amendment Bylaw 2023, number 2161. And the recommendation is that council give third reading to Official Community Plan Bylaw 2022, number 2200, Amendment Bylaw 2023, number 2161. Moved by Councillor Stevens, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Item 6.2, Town of Ladysmith Zoning Bylaw 2014, number 1860, Amendment Bylaw number 54, 2022, number 2131. Recommendation is that council give third reading to Town of Ladysmith Zoning Bylaw 2014, number 1860, Amendment Bylaw number 54, 2022, number 2131. Moved by Councillor Vertanen, seconded by Councillor Gourlay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. That takes us to rise and report items from closed session. Item from closed session of council held October 3rd, 2023, and the resolution CE 2023-069 that council directs staff to contact project funders, notifying them of the canceled tender for the construction of the artist studio project and to work with funders on options and next steps. Also have a rise and report from this evening that council appoint Roberta Bowman, Executive Director of Ladysmith Chamber of Commerce, to the Ladysmith Harbour Economic Development Corporation under Article 13.2B of the Corporation's Articles of Incorporation. Number 2, appoint Chief John Elliott to the Ladysmith Harbour Economic Development Corporation under Article 13.2C of the Corporation's Articles of Incorporation. Number 3, rise and report on items 1 and 2 immediately. With that, that takes us to the committee minutes. Oh, wait a minute, I skipped a whole page, I think. No? Since that was over the next part of my agenda. The minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 5th, 2023, and the recommendation is that council approve the minutes. If there are no errors or omissions, a motion to adopt those minutes. Moved by Councillor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Stevens. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's unanimous, motion carries. Good evening and have a good night, Ms. Thompson. Hard work on that file. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe not tonight, but leading up to it. Appreciate your work. Thank you. Have a great Christmas. Moving on to delegations. That brings us to our delegations, who I did see earlier. That's Sandra Marquis, Ladysmith Resources Center Association. Welcome. If you'd like to come to the podium and just turn on the little person button there and the microphone will light up. There we go.
There.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I wasn't able to get this ready previously, but I have a handout for you all. So do you want me to just keep this one? So thank you. So I'm here to report to you on the funding that's provided from the town to the Ladysmith Resource Center. And I understand this is something we do every year. The Town of Ladysmith's annual contribution to the Ladysmith Resource Center Association is combined with gaming grants and donations from other funders and allows the LRCA to provide important support programs for all age groups from toddlers to seniors. The if you look down at the allocation from the town that was received by the Resource Center in October 2022, you'll see where the money has been traditionally directed. This year, if you look farther down, the allocation for vulnerable family and youth services was split between family and youth services, restorative justice, and adventures in early literacy. The adventures in early literacy program expanded quite a bit this year. You've probably seen their work around town. The Mother Goose funding stayed the same. Senior support funding stayed the same. Individual support services is what it's labeled. Went to volunteer counseling. That stayed the same. As I said, the vulnerable families and youth services, $19,872 got split between 3 programs this year. And then the victim services is $16,561. And we were able to spend half of that. And the reason the other half wasn't spent is we've had staffing issues in terms of finding somebody to fill the position that funding provides. So that funding is targeted to the on-call after hours services for victim services, and we had hired somebody. It takes 6 months apparently for them to be vetted through the RCMP, so that took a while, and then she didn't stay in the position for very long, and so we're back in the position of having to hire somebody. So half of that money was not spent. It's been carried forward to 2024, and then the total is at the bottom. I think we sent you guys our annual report. I think you have it. So I've just, on the back of your page there, I've just put some really short highlights of the different programs that you provided funding for. So Adventures in Early Literacy was the expanded storybook walk. They partner with LAF, the Town of Ladysmith, Parks, Recreation and Culture, Maritime Society, Pacific Care, and quite a long list of other partners, which I haven't included all in there. But you can read their report in our annual report on page 22. Mother Goose provided 6 series of 8 sessions each. They had 56 children that were participated. They have a Ladysmith Mother Goose Facebook group that they started, and again, the full report from them is in our annual report on page 24. Senior support. 354 seniors were provided with service. There's 928 grocery orders taken by volunteers. 286 students helped 49 seniors in the Students Helping Seniors summer program this past summer. And more information on page 25. The volunteer counseling, 435 counseling hours for 33 clients in that time period. More information on page 26. Restorative Justice Program expanded, and that's why some of the funding was directed there this past year. There's a 6-week circle dialogue process for all grade 9 humanities students now that is funded through the Restorative Justice Program. And also that funding is used to continue to support victim services and the family and youth team. More information on page 28. Family and Youth Services provided direct support to 81 individuals this past year. They work in partnership again with a long list of organizations, and there more information on pages that are listed there. And the Victim Support Services, they had 1,595 hours of victim services, 218 incidents requiring support, and there's more information on page 27. I believe you also have our full financial statement and our annual report, so if there's any questions, am I allowed to ask if you have questions?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
please.
do you have questions?
Any questions from council or comments? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you. Just a couple, and
Yep.
thank you very much for all the work that your organization does. Are you doing the bingo anymore?
No. So the last bingo was before COVID started, and due to some errors in reporting, the LRCA lost their bingo license over the course of COVID, and had to put in some paperwork to correct that, and did not reapply for the license. And we've just, in the last couple of months, we were approached by the Lions who want to take over bingo. So I've been exploring whether that was possible or not, and it just in the last week, I got back to them and said yes, it is. So the Lions are adopting our bingo equipment and applying for a bingo license, so they'll be doing it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Well, I would just echo Councillor Patterson's comments. You know, I know how important the services are that the LRCA provides in our community, and now that I know that you don't do bingo, though, like, geez, just kidding. I would joke because I know it's a fundraising thing, but it's also a way for people to socialize and connect. So, my grandmother was a big bingo player. So, but that being said, that's just not really the important part of all the work that gets done. I was going to say here because we are in the building, but keep up the good work. And I know that it can be challenging at times, but just keep looking forward and appreciate all the service you provide to our community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
And thank you for the funding, by the way. I should add that in there.
You're welcome. Thanks for all the work that you do. All right, moving along. Now I think we're on to committee minutes. I'm not skipping pages, right? No, we're good. Public Art Committee, December 4th, 2023, and the recommendation that we receive those minutes. If there are no errors or omissions, a motion to adopt the minutes or receive the minutes. Moved by Councillor Mackay, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Item 11.1 is 2024 utility due dates. The recommendation is that Council approve the following utility billing due dates: February 28th, 2024 for the October to December period, May 30th, 2024 for the period of January to March 2024, August 29th, 2024 for the period of April to June 2024, and November 28th, 2024 for the period of July to September 2024. Moved by Councillor Jacobson, seconded by Councillor Vertanen. You guys look like family. We dodged that bullet. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Item 11.2, endorsement of Town of Ladysmith funding request application, Island Health Resilience and Safety Program, page 71. The recommendation is that Council, number one, endorse the town's application of $50,000 to the Island Health Resiliency and Safety Program to support the Youth Bloom project. Number two, direct staff to include in the 2024 to 2028 financial plan $50,000 for the Youth Bloom project, with funds to come from the Island Health Resiliency and Safety Program. Moved by Councillor Gourlay, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Discussion? Councillor Gourlay.
Just want to put a thank you to staff for going ahead and applying to this before the deadline, which has recently passed, and making this possible, because this is a very exciting program, and I hope that we get the funding and are able to do these programs. Love this kind of stuff. Awesome.
Great, thank you. Councillor Mackay.
Thank you. I agreed. Great program. Love to see this kind of thing happening. I know the grants are difficult to prepare and apply for, but anything to do with our youth is money well spent and time well spent for us. I just have a question, and maybe you don't have the answer to it at this point, but is this program to be done by referral? In other words, an outside agency refers to the program for a youth to participate, or can a family apply, an individual apply? Just out of curiosity.
Through to staff.
On behalf of Mr.
I
Barfoot,
was going to say Mr. Barfoot's not here, but
I believe that the program was going to be run through the schools too, so the people will be coming through that that type of program to be referred to the town essentially.
Okay, thank you.
any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Item 11.3, zoning amendments to align with OCP, increased height and density in the downtown. Recommendation is that council direct that a public hearing not be held for Town of Ladysmith zoning bylaw 2014 number 1860 amendment bylaw 2023 number 2163 pursuant to section 4642 of the Local Government Act. Number 2, direct staff to schedule first reading of bylaw 2163 and notification pursuant to section 467 of the Local Government Act. And number 3, direct staff to refer Town of Ladysmith zoning bylaw 2014 number 1860 amendment bylaw 2023 number 2163 to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure after third reading of the bylaw pursuant to section 52 of the Transportation Act. Moved by Councillor Vertanen, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Discussion. Councillor Patterson and then Stevens.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just, I guess, well, no, not I guess. A couple of questions for staff is with the recent announcements from the province as far as densification and the allowing of taller buildings and especially buildings near transit stops. I'm not too sure of how Ladysmith fits into that. In here, there is.
It's not.
Yeah,
Before you go on that part of it, I think staff can answer. It's not. This is not connected to Bill 44. If that's what you're asking, it's not impacted by it.
Okay, so
These are amendments flowing from our OCP.
Okay, but as far as what I've just read in the media, who I believe wholeheartedly, restrictions or bylaws pertaining to parking in certain areas and stuff are going to be thrown aside. So in here we're talking about parking. Will there be any effect on this?
Mr. Bellababa.
Through the chair, Bill 44 was adopted. It received royal assent. This is not necessarily intended for the direct purpose of complying with that new legislation. However, it is aligned with it. So it is not inconsistent with the new legislation.
Okay.
They still might force us to do other stuff.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is this going to get turfed if they?
No, the Bill 44 implementation gives us until June 2024. So there will be a series of bylaw amendments coming forward. I'm answering for Mr. Bellababa because he's in a different conversation. But I believe there will be a series of amendments required to be passed before June 2024 to comply with Bill 44.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. So these amendments will likely set us up for some of the optional items under Bill 44, but won't necessarily be necessary to achieve compliance with Bill 44.
Thank you.
Just another quick question with the new regs coming from the province and how they fit or don't fit with our OCP. Will staff or somebody be able to give council kind of a Cole's notes on what that's going to be doing to the community or for the community? Because they're quite drastic changes in some aspects.
Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair, the changes require changes to zoning and municipal bylaws. So that Coles notes would occur in the staff reporting to council when those bylaws are brought forward. They are, for the most part, they are mandatory changes, and so essentially council would be given Coles notes or a summary of what those mandatory changes are.
And then we have to adopt them.
Yeah.
Ms. Bowman.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize, but the bylaw in question has not been included in the agenda package. So it just was inadvertently missed, although it's explained in the report and you're only giving first reading. So
Sorry.
it,
Who are you talking about?
bylaw 2161.
Through the chair.
We're on 2163.
Yeah, the
2163,
the
sorry.
bylaw is not included. However, council isn't actually giving first reading tonight because
Right.
council is waiving the public hearing. So I believe council may not actually have to see the bylaw. We can check that, and if we've erred, we can simply report back to council and correct that at the next meeting.
Thank you, because I thought it said here to schedule first reading. This isn't first reading. Yeah.
And through the chair, that's because council first must make a decision not to have the public hearing, and and then notification has to go out prior to first reading.
Yeah. Thank you. You okay, Councillor Patterson? You got it? Okay, Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. So, I would say in general, but it's not strong enough language. I'm really excited to see this being brought in a great big wave through downtown and getting on with implementing the OCP. One question / reservation I have is on page 77, the notion of site-specific zoning versus non-conforming. And I just wondered, it seems to me we've got a patchwork, and we're trying to get rid of a patchwork by going through and doing this blanket zoning, but site-specific would kind of return us to a blanket, wouldn't it? So I wondered if we could just have legal non-conforming, and when they age out, then they've got up-zone property, to my mind.
Through the chair, if that's council's wish, they may actually get it by way of Bill 44, because we will have to consider, for example, single-family dwellings convey the rights under Bill 44. So we had kind of put that in, staff had kind of put that in as a placeholder, recognizing that Bill 44 would likely come in and we'd have to address some of those issues at that time. In other cases like service stations and things like that, non-conforming use rights are not, despite the term rights, they're not necessarily as entitled or free as people think. They do come with quite a few restrictions, and so generally speaking, municipalities ought to be a bit loath to make something a non-conforming use or density. It does come with consequences.
I was going to say, like, if a requirement through other legislation require them to upgrade pollution control, but then they can't get a building permit because they have non-conforming zoning, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Moving on to bylaws for adoption. Item 12.1.1, Town of Ladysmith Zoning Bylaw 2014, number 1860, Amendment Bylaw 2023, number 2150. The council adopt the mentioned bylaw. Moved by Councillor Stevens, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Item 12.1.2, that council adopt 2024 Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw 2023, number 2162. Moved by Councillor Jacobson, seconded by Councillor Mackay. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. It always sounds so exciting when you're anticipating revenue. Item 12.1.3, the recommendation is that council adopt Waterworks Regulation Bylaw 1999, number 1298, Amendment Bylaw 2023, number 2164. Moved by Councillor Bertanen, seconded by Councillor Patterson. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Item 12.1.4, Sanitary Sewer Rate Bylaw 1999, number 1299, Amendment Bylaw 2023, number 2165. Did I say that council adopt, or did I just read the headline again? But that's the motion that council adopt. Sanitary sewer rate bylaw 1999, number 1299, amendment bylaw 2023, number 2165. Moved by Councillor McKine, seconded by Councillor Patterson. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Bylaw status sheet is there for information. That takes us to question period. If there's questions, feel free to take the podium and ask regarding items on our agenda.
Good evening. Ken Chippenuk, 136 Raynite Drive, Ladysmith. Yeah. Just very quick question. I was noticing on 11.1, utility due dates, we all get 2 months to pay our bills. And so my question is, and I'm sure it's something in the traditions of Ladysmith, why 2 months? No one else gives me 2 months.
Because we're just that sweet and kind. No, I think it has something to do with the meter readings happen through a certain period, and then there's administrative time to turn it around and get it all billed out and then mailed out and then time to return. I think that's the best I can explain it. And usually in our policy here, it says I don't refer to staff, but maybe Ms. Anderson can whisper it over her desk.
Thank you. Usually we're required to have 30 days, so we want to make sure that we have that time that the bills go out and we have full on 30 days before the due date. And since we have to set the due dates ahead of time, we kind of do it this way. It works out better.
Yeah.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Any more questions for council this evening or for the chair? Yeah. Seeing no more, it must be Christmas. I do want to say happy holidays. However, people recognize the season on behalf of our council and our staff and our community. And I'm so thankful for all the staff that we have here. We did have a little appreciation lunch on Monday, and I know we're appreciative truly of all of our staff that work so hard, from our administration all the way down to our part-time parks workers in the summer, and even our ambassadors that try and help us do better things for the environment and around our waste streams. And hope that everyone has a safe and happy holiday season and an excellent 2024. I'm really looking forward to next year because this year has been a doozy. But thank you, and I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Gourlay, seconded by Councillor Jacobson. All those in favor, we are adjourned. Happy 2023, and we'll see you in 24.